Okay, so today I'm going to discuss various concepts sort of tying into the long-form postulate that I talk about where, just the limits of the mind are infinite versus the limits of the body, your physical state, are limited. So it's a very simple explanation for something very nuanced, like the struggle of a lot of life isn't so much like, just surviving. That's easy to do. People would survive back in the Stone Age, and cavemen could survive. Right now they'd have shorter lifespans, less conveniences, but whatever. Like, that's not really the issue in life a lot of the time. The issue is often that dissonance between you're aware of the inherent objective reality, but you live in a contrived state where people pretend things that aren't objectively true or absolute in order to specify them, kind of like, just like love is meant to be specify absolute, or the like to specify or whatever, like certain false absolutes that are valued. So my point is that the physical state kind of demands that specification or creates a problem with that. And the reason why it does is because of the simple fact that the physical state is limited, so it has all these incentives and limitations. It's easy to control the physical body. To some extent, you're kind of a slave to your own hedonistic tendencies and convenience and zero-sum means. Like, that's why the minimalist or the absolutist could not be controlled. And I've written like this in my short stories a lot. Like, this is a character. I have like a lot of language to do with this. What is it that they want so they cannot be controlled? They're happy sleeping on the ground in the woods, but you don't even allow them to do that. Oh, they're trespassing. You have to go after them even then. But what is it that you can control them with? They don't care about their family because they reject the nearness postulate. They didn't choose their family. They don't care about stimuli acme. They're not trained like an animal to worship their hedonistic desires and base their whole life around it, like a sexual partner. So they don't have those things. So now they don't take ego gratification from overextended zero-sum means, non-basis self-interest. Like, oh, look at me, I'm working hard. But you're working hard for your own zero-sum self-interest. So if you don't want as much, if you're not as possessive or greedy or materialistic or seek all these, in an ironic way, if you're not so lazy that you want all these conveniences, you wouldn't need to work as hard. So you see what I mean? Like, so they sacrifice all that. And so what does that mean? Like, it's not that, they lack the ability to do those things, it's they lack the desire or the need to do them, or they they're not controlled by it, they're not possessive or materialistic that way. So they don't take any ego gratification from anything. Everything's just a zero-sum process, right? It's the ends to means basis. Like, work as hard as you want for as much money as you need, for as many possessions as you have, as you desire. So like, they don't desire anything, so then what? How can you control them, right? So that's what would be condemned in a weird way. A person living alone in the woods on an island, how can you really condemn that? They're not telling you to do that, but what is wrong with that situation? You just want something from them. They don't want anything from you. So it's kind of a one-way street when you're already living in a society that monopolizes nature itself and overextends itself so far and controls so much. So that's the thing, is like, they don't want anything, and therefore they don't have any possessions or cares. So therefore they're not controlled by it. But it's like, you need society to survive. Not only do you not need it, but it kind of imposes itself on you to that extent. And the reason why is because of the simple fact that it wouldn't let you do that, because again, if that's free to do, then enough people do that, then there's no need for society invalidating. You need like some sort of religious pretense or something. the like Amish, being Amish or something. Right, that's a problem in a way, because like, let's say it's not a religion, but somebody just desires to live in a minimalistic way, you would have to sort of justify that somehow. So that's the whole irony. Even if you aren't part of a contrivance state, you have to justify not being a part of it. You have to say, oh, but it's okay, I'll still pay taxes, or I need some exemption. Like, so that shows you the reversal of society and contrivance. It's not that you need a reason. It's not the inherent, like, okay, you need a reason to be told not to do something or to be controlled. Rather, it's a reversal. You need permission or a reason to you need a permission or reason to basically like, it's not that there needs to be a reason for you not to do something, it's that you need a reason to do it, right? You need to justify doing it, right? Which is a stark reversal for sure. That's very disturbing. ultimately you are in a position to basically I kind of lost my train of thought. But no, I've been uploading some of these as YouTube shorts, which seems to be better because it's hard to do it otherwise. Like nobody's gonna appreciate. I get it. You know, you gotta dump. How many layers do I have to dumb it down? Right, from my old debate format to this, to doing it while driving, to doing it, you know, in shorts, to doing it in any other way. It's like, dude, how many layers of dumbing something down do I have to have? Right, but that's what people appreciate, so it's kind of the projection idea that, like, you present people with everything, the truth of the universe, or, like, you know, long-form thought, objectivity, nuance, but they either project it down to oh no, it must be about the stimuli acme or something like that, because that's what they're obsessed with and controlled by. Or you have to appeal to that that term will be a household name by the time I'm done with this, because it's just necessary to do this. Right, I put I gave up on the court of reason, but this is maybe how I should have, it's the same thing, but I had that channel that I have 4 subscribers, where it's the court of reason, and that was my old debate format. That's almost how I should have done it there, to upload it as shorts instead of uploading it just as videos, because they were short videos anyway, a minute or 30 seconds of me explaining one of these terms, right, or concepts. So I don't know, it's a tough thing to do, and the problem, somebody got triggered, actually, I wish I could see the comment right now, somebody got triggered, by one of my recent videos, and posted some really upset comment, but the thing you have to remember with this objective observational basis, too, is, no claim is really being made, typically, right? It's not saying what to do, right? The stimuli acme, for example, I could observe it, okay, the stimuli acme is preserved, blah, 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 and it's it doesn't say whether it should be preserved or not, right? You're just observing that it is preserved, right? So then, upon consideration and great long-form, discussion, I may very well conclude that, okay, in my opinion, I believe it should not be preserved, and it's kind of the blight of the era that controls us, but that would be after rational consideration. I come to that conclusion, or it's used to control us, I should say. But just simply observing what the stimuli acme is doesn't make a claim. It's kind of those are the observational things. Even if you get away from the stimuli acme, it's never mind the term. It's kind of right, okay, forget about the term, forget about preconceived notions, is it true that profanity is based around sex, which implies a human obsession with sex, which implies, that people can't think of any higher form of expression or value than something sexual in nature, hedonistic in nature? Is that true or not? And the answer is, it is true, because you can observe that. Why else is profanity like that? So you would have to explain away why that's the case. And again, it doesn't make a claim. It doesn't say that's a bad thing. It's just showing you again, this is what I call being aware of the nature of the process. But it kind of reveals in an interesting way sometimes. By being objective, you'll reflect. People will take that objectivity as a claim, oh, you must be saying this, or you must be saying that, or they'll get mad about it. But that just reveals how controlled and indoctrinated they are, because they take it as an outward statement, just a mere observation of objective reality. Right, or they take offense to it. It's and then, it's so you could do it in that way, just, you would observe, okay, this is the nature of the process, what does it reflect? So again, the burden would be on contrivance to justify that, if it wants to pretend that's not the basis, you can be aware of it, but that doesn't mean it's good or bad, or you should or shouldn't do it. It means more you wouldn't be surprised, or any undue opposites, okay, you're aware of the stimuli acme specification, so now what? You wouldn't be surprised at people fighting in relationships, or having 50% divorce rates, or all this, because you're aware of the nature of the process, right? It's not absolute, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not. That's the thing with even doing this. People are trying to attach an incentive. Oh, you're doing this because of blank, and I love this. This is where the long form posture comes in. You're doing this because of something you experienced in your childhood, or you're doing this because of your life, experience, and this and that. the problem with that is, okay, everything everyone ever does is because of things they were influenced in their life or experience, right? So like everybody's discredited and labeled in that same way. Oh, you're only doing or saying this thing, whatever it is, because of your life experiences. So that would apply to anything. The thing is, it applies less to this than almost anything, because the point of it is just to observe, right, and think objectively, despite contrivance. It doesn't have a specific end goal or a specific incentive or reason. Like, the human beings are able to think and be self-aware. So a human being is thinking and being self-aware, right? There's no ego attached to that. It doesn't prove anything. It doesn't make a claim. It doesn't have any specific incentive or goal, right? It's just a natural thing that you would do. So the outward thing is to stop yourself from thinking, to distract yourself, use social contrivance, anti-thought, as I call it. Like, everything is still a reaction to thought, right? But you can either observe it, or you can try to kind of shut it down in a way. And so it feels kind of like so it's kind of like it would be hard to discredit or label that. Why can't it just be, okay, a human being is thinking because they're able to think and they're observing things objectively, and that's just a natural thing to do, right? Like there would be less incentive in that, or no benefit, no immediate, kind of like, what is the goal of it? So this is similar to like religious fallacies, like where the reason why you say there's no God is because you want to justify doing certain things that God would say are bad to do, right? Is potential. Now, first of all, that's not even necessarily true, right? You might just, for simply logical reasons, you could still say, okay, I'm going to obey the law because the law, isn't absolute, but it's useful and functional and whatever, right? That's different. So it doesn't mean that you have to, you intend to do bad things or something by God's standard. But the problem with that argument is it assumes that God exists and that God is right, so therefore you'd be disobeying him. Like, so you're already assuming that in the question. Assuming that, like, you would not believe because you want to feel like you need permission or whatever. It gives you like a free pass to do whatever you want. But that's a fallacy because it assumes that you're already right. And so the same thing is true here. It's like, the reason why you would think objectively is to sort of justify doing things that you're inherently capable of doing anyway, like that are inhibited and restricted by contrivance. So like, oh, you're only questioning or contrivance or thinking objectively because you want to justify something that you're doing, or justify not doing something that's kind of compelled behavior. And it's like, well, is it really justifying that, or is it just holding accountable and making sure that it's really worth doing or not doing what it is that's being presented? So it's, again, the premise that nothing is absolute. Everything's just a tool to control people. We've seen that throughout history. We see that a lot, like in other countries, et cetera, et cetera. So like, you can fall for that control, but it's not an absolute by any stretch of the imagination. It's kind of like being defined by the lowest common denominator. Like, oh, other people are controlled by something that you're not controlled by or that you're aware of. Non-required, non-desire, I kind of call it. But yet, you still have to appeal to that or appease that, or that's what they project or expect or desire. So social contrivance is an interesting layer, but if people were actually self-aware and thought enough, they would realize the nature of that process as well. It's just nothing but ignorance insistence by the same standard that you're posing. It's just irrational insistence upon the self. Right, like whatever you say in social interaction typically is like you're insisting upon your own experience as though it's more valuable just because you experienced it, not based on any standard. And by that same standard, you could discuss something of a higher level. So you don't really have interest in that subject. It's more just your ego of, oh, I experienced this, so therefore it's more valuable. And not a standard, accountable thing. And then the flip side is the fact that The flip side is the simple fact that the same thing, like your ignorance insistence, you're insisting upon what preconceived experiences you've had and your limited knowledge of the collective human consciousness, and even that's a small part of the overall larger process. So the thing is that, it's like you're just insisting upon your own ignorance. It doesn't have any special meaning or value to it at all. And so it really doesn't matter. Right? It's just not credible. It's like you're basically saying nothing. You're just saying, I value this because of my experience, whatever limited experience you have, versus using an actual standard. Right, so by the same measure, if you hold something accountable, that's why everything is conditional. So it's like, oh, the pretense of this, right, is blank. So like, okay, there's two ways to look at this. The reason why we need laws is so that people don't just kill each other. So, okay, I'll create a minimalist commune in which nobody kills each other. Now we don't need the law or government or anything anymore, right, if I present that. Or we, again, to try to get to the point where we don't need that. But then the other side is, oh, we're controlled in this way because of this functional reason, zero-sum means or otherwise. And then it's like, okay, what if I do that same zero-sum practice, functionalism, more efficiently? Now I'm more credible. Now I'm be the one in control. Now I, can invalidate the process. So you always can hold that accountable instead of this unqualified empirical basis that is used. And so it shows you how utterly not credible people actually are, because they'll go along with anything then, right? And we see that throughout history. But somehow people don't apply that to their own time or whatnot. It's like, you could just do it that way, like, you could just do it in such a way that, I don't know. This is a little shorter than what I was expecting, but oh man. What if I do that? Like, do a stream where I just make noises the whole time. I'm yawning, I'm coughing, I'm sneezing, I'm like, fuck it, dude. Better, I'm snoring, I fall asleep and I'm snoring. You might think it's ridiculous, but people do stuff like that. They do sleeping streams and stuff. That's the problem. Even to acknowledge the topic sometimes is kind of negative, because it's like the discussion, because you're going in with unqualified empirical authority. People have already been indoctrinated. They're already in an outward insistent state. So they treat that as default, absolute, and inherent. But everything is outward. Nothing, what's inherent wouldn't be a specific thing. Like, okay, so your way of life is inherent. Then China's way of life is inherent. And Russia's way of life is inherent. And India's way of life is inherent. And so is those things from hundreds of years ago. Like, so your life is defined by the machination process, the net sum of technology in any era. I've discussed that at length. That's one of my favorite concepts because it's so applicable, right? The way that, like, here, I'll demonstrate it in a different way than I typically discuss, but I have said this before too. It's like, your morality is defined by technology, but I'll say it more explicitly than that. You think you're better than other people in other parts of the world or other parts of history, but not only is that not true, it's actually kind of the opposite. The only reason why you're able to even pretend like you're better than other people inherently, which you're not at all, right? The nature doesn't change. It's nature versus nurture. In this case, zero-sum means, like, the technology and things you have access to define your state, and the social pressures and empirical authority structure, etc., laws and stuff. That accountability defines you. The point is that not only are you not better than other people, either in other parts of the world or in history, but you depend on technology and a certain comfortable, right, relative comfort state. So that wouldn't even be possible, right? The position from which you're standing on this moral high horse is not natural because it came about by, your country killed innocent people and took over their land and, like, conquer them. And again, every country you can point to that in the history, so I'm not singling one out, but what I'm saying is, you wouldn't be on your high moral porch if it wasn't built on the graves of, let's say, the U.S., on the graves of the Native Americans and on the backs of slaves and stuff like that. So the point is, even like, you feel like you're self-righteous or good or whatever, that goodness would not be possible if you didn't take, again, if your ancestors or otherwise didn't take so many resources by force. Now you have the excess of resources that were taken by force originally, so now you feel good and self-righteous as a result. There was no original claim to that, so by that logic, okay, some invader comes over, kills all of you and your family, and then hundreds of years later their descendants act morally righteous as a result of that. It's like, we can't forget that, right? So it doesn't mean that, those descendants are to blame or something, but it means that they benefited from it to the point where you wouldn't be in that position otherwise. So, like, the phony moralizing is stupid. Like, okay, so what does it mean? Like, dependent on that, and you kind of rely on it to a degree that is really kind of annoying because you get the full real life vibration effect. We're in New York State, the shittiest roads in the country apparently. Like, look at, I guess I'm just desensitized to it. Look at this bumping every step. Like, what is this, dude? What is going on? You can say something's wrong with my car, but, like, what is this, dude? Okay, my point is that, right, the machination process, so it requires you to have that the privilege of empires, basically. Yes, of course, you can act morally righteous if your ancestors, or you benefit, basically, killed a bunch of people, took their land, now you have abundant resources, you can act on moral high horse. And then even on top of that, there's something else that happens, and it's called, it's called the wait, what? $4 for, wait, what? $4 for gas. Wait, I didn't even notice that. I just filled it earlier too. Is it really that high? Oh wow, I wasn't even paying attention. The hell? I just filled it earlier. I didn't think it was that high. But the thing is that again, that's one way the machination process takes root. The other way is the fact of, the overextension, like, the benefits of technology and comfort and convenience that you have in your way of life is dependent on your empire presently and the corporate monopolized world that we have today sucking dry the resources of other countries and the whole world. Like, So, you feel like you feel morally righteous, but your way of life from which you're able to feel morally righteous is dependent on which part. I mean, otherwise, empires previously ravaged them throughout history, but even presently now, they're sucking them dry for resources so they can sell them to you, and you can have your luxuries and feel self-righteous with those luxuries while you're sucking dry and taking resources from third world countries. So you're making them. So then, we'll donate to charity. Meanwhile, your exuberant way of life in excess, right, is the reason why those countries are being sucked dry in the first place and why they're poor, because that wouldn't just naturally happen necessarily, right? Like, whenever, again, excesses and exuberance are not naturally occurring. Like, whenever you have the luxury and an excess, somebody else is being denied a necessity because of it, right? That's how the world actually works, because it's a net sum reality. Like, everything is connected. So if you were eating one meal a day and meager stuff, and I know you'll think, corporations will shift it and whatever, but like, ideally, what is this fucking place, man? The roads, like, what is going on? Look at this shit, man. Even you get a real 3D effect now, not just vibration. Okay, I think I'm done. I don't even feel like doing this. I thought I would have to do something else, but I should buy an ice cream truck and stream from there and fucking it just seems like a funny idea. How much is an ice cream? It's, some things are funnily expensive. Like, I was looking up how much is a log cabin, and it's like, it should be like $10,000. Like, it's $150. There'll be some novelty shit. Like, just take a couple of pieces of wood and just make it, dude. It's like, how much is an ice cream truck? I feel like they've gone out of style too, or like you could do something similar with it. It doesn't have to just be. Starting an ice cream truck business generally requires total investment of $10,000, which that's understandable, to over $100,000. Bro, imagine investing $100,000, bro. Like, what are you fucking talking about? So that's one thing I'm curious, and then the other one is like, I just said it, but I forgot already. Like, I'm just curious. Let me just like. It just seems so interesting as like a, all-purpose food trucks, ice cream trucks, barbecue food trucks, pizza food trucks, catering food trucks, snowball trucks, taco food trucks, coffee, beverage. Like, I just have one that like has everything. Like, just snack. Like, it doesn't have to be refrigerated. Vintage, 1974, 16 GMT ice cream truck mobile vending machine unit. This for sale in the District of Columbia. $11,000. Offers a reliable setup for mobile dessert service. It includes plumbing, electrical connections, refrigeration options. $10,000. 2001 Cushman Truckster ice cream concession truck for sale in Washington. These are all pretty old, like 2003, 2030. Okay, 20. Oh, that's a good year at least. And some of these look pretty cool. 4,000. This one must be really shitty. Kentucky, 1999. This is so weird. But yeah, these price points are pretty good. I mean, obviously they're gonna have a lot of miles. They might have some issues with them. Average cost for ice cream truck is, in the big picture, that's really not that bad. It's like 15 to 20,000. Like, the average car that you're gonna get is gonna be more than that or whatever. So obviously they'll be older, but $500 for ice cream products is a minimum. Vehicle maintenance, gasoline, and cost of restocking will be your primary ongoing expenses. Ice cream trucks won't get and like, how do you even get permission to like set up somewhere? Do you have to like rent a spot or what? You should sit down and crunch the numbers before you start advertising. That's the one thing I don't get. Well, I guess you would just be going all around, kind of. That'd be so interesting. Like what if I'm just going on this is the funniest fucking thing ever. I'm going on a trip all around the country just to explore, and I'm basically like, let's say I'm on vacation and I just want to explore the country, but as I'm going, I happen to be driving an ice cream truck, and if little kids start running after me and I sell stuff along the way, then so be it. That'll pay for my trip right there. That's like such an economical, funny, awesome way to do it. Like a Forrest Gump type moment. I bought this ice cream truck because I couldn't afford anything else. It was actually cheaper than modern cars. It was only like $6,000. So I figured I may as well get that. And then it'll show a montage of him and I thought, kids running after him. Since I'm in an ice cream truck anyway, I may as well sell some ice cream to the kids. And then it ends up being that scene culminates in, I never thought I could afford the gas on this trip. It's over $4 and a gallon, and but selling all that ice cream really helped pay for the trip right there. That made it worth it. It's one of those weird scenarios of self-fulfilling, just weird. I love that. That feels like something that could have been in Forrest Gump or whatever. I gotta react to some videos too, but I gotta charge my headphone or whatever, my ear Bluetooth. Which Yu-Gi-Oh ship do you prefer the most? Taya and Yugi. That's not even really much of a ship. I mean, they're kind of whatever. Joey and Alexis. I haven't even seen that. Joey and Mai is actually kind of cool. Wait, Joey and Alexis, but it shows Jaden. I don't get it. Yusei and Akiza. I guess Joey and Mai would be good because they're not the main character, right? The way the other ones maybe seem to be. So, even though Mai is much older, there's some good chemistry there. Try not to laugh challenge. Oh, it's like he puts the thing in her nose and whatever outlet. How do I automatically lose this game? This is like dueling book. You obviously can't see what I'm doing. Slither eye of it. What am I getting? There's so many random things that I see on YouTube only that I wouldn't watch otherwise, as you're scrolling through the shorts, or even it sometimes gets spoiled on stuff. Or I'm one of those people, I'll listen to the same song over and over on repeat, forever. So I've been listening to this song from Arrival, which I haven't even seen, a movie from 2016, Of the Nature of Daylight. And you know how I got introduced to that song? By this stupid video of the 6'7" guy, which is actually from a while ago. It's not a new video, but maybe when the 6'7" craze was first starting. So it's when your friend finally gets over brain rot, obsession, or whatever, 10 years later kind of thing. So then the friends come in the house, and then they're saying, well, it's been a while since I've seen you. It's been 8 years. And then the other guy says, no, it's been more 6 or 7 years. And then the guy starts doing 6, 7. It's so dramatically over the top, but they happen to use that song. So this is how I discovered that song. What a great reason to do it. Let's ridicule this video. Law of assumption, law of attraction, manifest. More tricks about this. For me, it's hard to feel like that. I guess really fucking good at manifesting, cloning. Let's look what kind of... Okay, I get really good at manifesting by using the mimicking, or we can call it the cloning technique. I just made up the name, look in the comments, which you like more by the end of the video. But I got this comment on the last video about how I got really fucking good at manifesting. Manifesting sometimes, I like to keep in the bloopers. I'm human, they all happen all the time. It's fucking hilarious. So I got the question on the last video, you already said that. Got really good at manifesting, you said that 10 times. having the identity of chasing manifestations. Like, I wish I was a big streamer just for that reason. Like, I could give a shout out to people, but I could also clown them. I could also say, like, you know what, dude, it's no hate, but what you're doing is kind of... Okay, I'm done, dude.